Rachel Lofton, thank you for being here to break it down for us on the inequities between men's and women's, boys and girls sports. Let's start off with the big one. Let's start off with March Madness. At least that's what we can call it for the men. The inequities there in terms of workout equipment, fitness centers, locker rooms, food, swag. Why is that? Why does this happen in our society in 2021?
Unfortunately, when I heard about this, I wasn't surprised. And the thing about it is, I say unfortunately, because we are coming up on the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And a lot of times we put in policy, but we have to understand policy does not mean perfection. And I think it is time for us to reevaluate, because it is 2020 and we shouldn't have these inequities. And it goes beyond just not being able to show up and do your best and have the things there for you, but what message does that tell you?
Well, I guess Rachel, what I've been always trying to figure out is how much of it, and just from your gut, I mean, neither of us knows, how much of it was an accident, we didn't mean to do this, and how much of it was, well, this is the women and this is the men, so this is what we're going to do here, and we're going to do different in Indianapolis, what we do in San Antonio. What's your gut feel for where we are now in terms of how much is intentional?
I think it's one of those things that if it doesn't affect you, you don't think about it. So the people in power, it does not affect them, therefore they do not think about it. I think a lot, again, with the passing of Title IX, they're like, okay, things are equal, that should be good. Just like the idea of schools being separate but equal, they were not equal. Again, for the people in power, they're really looking at the money makers and they're looking at the men as the money makers. So that's where their energy and their money is being poured into. I think it also comes with an attitude that women and men's sports aren't equal. Therefore, you don't want to put the money, the effort, the time, and ensuring that these things are equal between the both. I think, again, it's 2020, there's really not an excuse.
So what about, I guess, and this is devil's advocate because I'm not a believer, but there is an argument that men's sports bring in more money. There are more fans and otherwise. So therefore, that's why the inequity exists. I mean, you point out rightly that Title IX is designed to fight against that and to bring about equity. But is there a business argument that makes any sense to you?
Men's sports are allowed to bring in more money because they're given the platforms to bring in more money. You have more money on television for men's sports because they're aired. You look at UCLA women's gymnastics team. Have you heard or thought about UCLA men's gymnastics team? No, but they have the platform. They're airing their meets. They're showing up on social media. They're putting money behind it because there is a desire for it. So at the same time, it's like, if you were to give them the platform, give them the equipment, give them the tools to actually succeed, who knows what could happen? If they were to pour in just as much advertising dollars, even on the local school level, just promoting it on campus as much as they did men's sports.
And we saw Megan Rapinoe recently at the White House, Equal Pay Day, pushing forward that issue as well. That even for, I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody to argue that the women's national team in soccer is less impressive, less successful than the men's team. Yet there's still unequal pay that exists there, and that fits in the narrative you're giving us. That there's no reason for that other than that's the way it's been. There's not even very much of the business argument as others might make in other settings. Is that right?
As far as the business argument goes, sometimes you just need the platform or the opportunity. You look at the U.S. women's soccer team. They've been dominating. People are watching, not just here, but around the world. And so it's kind of one of those things, if you were to pour in the same things from the beginning, the same amount of energy, the same money to these women's institutions, not just at the elite level, but all the way from the bottom to the top, what evolution could you see in women's sports? Because that's really the question, is you can't make the business case because you've never really done it. So you can't say it's not possible, it's not going to turn a profit, or that people aren't going to watch. You don't know because it hasn't really been done.
So let's think about the impact We look a lot at the impact on the players and kind of the business level. But what about for kids? What about little girls watching this? What kind of change would take place if there was a different message?
I think one of the things that's beautiful is this pause in the world and this opportunity to reflect and look back at sports. Representation is one of the biggest things that I think needs to happen, and at every level. And as far as opportunities to see yourself in coaching, in leadership from youth ages, to have women coaches. I played soccer from 3 to 12. All my coaches were men. So even looking at the youth level, you have these club teams with male coaches making money, not female coaches making money. But even me, I'm not seeing myself in the leadership position. I'm not seeing myself in a position of power or strength. I'm seeing male coaches. So even looking at starting at the bottom, just giving female coaches opportunities and then moving that up, because what does that say to see yourself in these powerful positions? What would it be like to have a female coach of a boys soccer team at a youth level? And so even to see yourself in that level.
We're not getting the whole story if we just look at, for example, the number of men coaches versus the number of women coaches. That data should be parsed further.
Yes. A couple of things that you're going to see, especially in sports, is while you do see women coaches and women starting in these leadership positions and working the way up throughout sports, it's mostly white women. You're not really seeing women of color as much in leadership positions and coaching positions, in these high-paying positions of leadership. So oftentimes when you are seeing even male coaches, you're still seeing sometimes Black male coaches getting more opportunities than Black female coaches. And so really an underrepresentation of women of color around the board. And that is something that definitely needs to be addressed.
So Rachel, just in closing, a couple of thoughts, couple of words. What does the world look like when there is sports gender equity and we no longer are dealing with this issue?
Well, I'm a firm believer that women hold up half the sky. And it would be amazing to see what the world would be like if all people were participants. I just think if you give us the chance, we'll surprise you. And I think that's it. Girls just need the chance.
Thank you, Rachel Lofton, for breaking down for us the inequities between men's and women's, boys and girls sports. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.